language. There's a discussion I'm reading about accents, and people are saying things like, I don't have an accent, or you've got more of an accent than I do, or someone says the Pacific Northwest has the least accented accent. Guys, everyone has an accent, everyone has a dialect, everyone has a language. There's various forms of the American accent, there's various forms of the British accent. Not only that, there's family level of accents and dialects, or what we call a familiolect. Individually, we've got slightly different ways of pronunciation and speaking, what you may call an idiolect. And everyone's got an accent. Just because you can't hear it doesn't mean it's not there. It's not that everyone has a funny way of talking. Everyone has a way of talking. Just as not everyone's on a diet, but everyone has a diet. Right? The word itself means what you eat. Accent means how you pronounce words. It doesn't mean you pronounce them wrong. It doesn't mean you speak differently from some norm. It just means you speak. You have an accent. I was trained in broadcast school to a relatively broadcast-neutral American accent. I grew up in Maine, and the more I hang out here, the more I discover that my new broadcast-neutral accent is slipping. Further, I'd say there's actually a lot of confusion about errors. Right? There's a difference between a dialect and a mistake. It's a mistake if you're attempting for a certain dialect and fail. But it's not a mistake to speak with a dialect that's different from what's expected. Ain't is in fact a word. If I say ain't, you know what I mean. It's a word. It may not be a word in a certain standardized dialect of the English language, but it is a word. And use of ain't in general conversation is not a mistake. Misusing, splitting infinitives and dangling participles and mismatch pronoun, antecedent, all of that is a dialect choice if it's just the way someone talks. If it interferes with understanding, then it's unclear. If you make a choice that's different from what works in your own dialect, then it's a mistake. If you're writing an English paper, then you've got a certain formality to adhere to, and you should learn that. But it's a mistake, I think, to say this is right and that is wrong. I think that particularly children learning to grow up, they learn different dialects, different ways to speak. You speak differently to your grandmother than to your friends on the playground, than to some creepy guy in a dark blue van with no windows trolling by. Yes, sir, I'll have your candy, sir. Something like that. And we can teach kids, this is the way you do formal. You talk however you like outside. There was a bit of a brouhaha a while back when someone thought that Ebonics, which may be an unfortunate name, but I guess the common black American dialect was a valid one. And it is. It's the dialect that a certain group of people use. And it turns out that teaching someone that the way they speak and the way their family speaks is wrong, it doesn't help them learn the formal way that you want them to learn. But if you teach them that that's the way you speak at home and that's fine, this is the way we speak in formalized school, your way of speaking has rules, our way of speaking has rules, and you can actually learn the rules and sort of translate. If you're looking at it that it's a mistake, then there's no way to translate. You just try to get them to memorize. If you realize that there's actually rules, you can actually say, well, where this kind of thing happens in this other dialect, this kind of thing happens, it's much easier to teach. And I think by extension there's a lot of this is right, that's wrong, based on the way I grew up is obviously right. And if that's not the way you automatically already do things, then you're wrong. And I think very simply, just getting out of your own neighborhood helps mitigate that a lot. Travel to another country, travel to another state, or province, or even another town. I'm currently in Bethel, Maine. Not very far away is the New Hampshire state border. The culture, the personality, and the language of New Hampshire is enough different that a local at least can tell. And it's not wrong. My being in Maine, I tend to sort of slip a little bit more into a Maine dialect, not only as far as accent, but as far as grammar, and certain less formalized grammar structures are slipping in, which is fine, except when I don't intend that. And I have certain people I speak with that I want to use a fairly formalized grammar, and I find certain things just are no longer automatic because I don't hear them here. A common one is the verb of being taking a nominative case. It is we who are going down the street, is opposed to it is us, that kind of thing. If it's is our, it takes the nominative, the we, the I, that sort of thing. The they, not the them. That one is just slipping right out because no one uses it here. It's not a natural rule here in this dialect. And then of course there's actual accented speak, and I try not to do that because if you fake a Maine accent, it just irritates the locals, and I slip into it when I'm talking to grandparents or when I'm talking about place names, because Biddeford, that's the way the locals say it. You don't say Biddeford. I don't know, aunt.